hello. Greetings from Microsoft headquarters here in Bucharest, Romania. Very happy to be here with you today and to welcome you to yet another episode in our educational podcast series that we're running. My name is Denis Curto. I'm the marketing manager for Central and Eastern Europe for Microsoft in Education. I've been spending a lot of time, basically a third of my life, working for Microsoft in various roles and capacities. My mission now with Microsoft for the past 6, 7 years has been focusing around education and enabling and supporting teachers, students, and researchers throughout Central and Eastern Europe to use the latest and greatest in Microsoft Cloud's innovations and solutions. But who really cares about that, right? What we really care about is our guest today, and I'm very happy to be joined today by two exceptional educators that we have in the region that have a lot of track record with educational up and with using technology in education. And they were kind enough to join us today and to share from their experience and how they've been using technology in education, as I've said. So with that, I'm going to pass it on for a quick round of introductions. So Eleni, would you like to go first?
Hi, I'm Eleni Dukas from Dukas School. This year we're celebrating 105 years in education, long track, and I'm the General Director of Education in our school. I'm a teacher as well, plus a child psychologist.
I'm Nina. I'm from Slovenia. I teach in fifth grade and I love to teach kids in various ways, also with technology. So I'm very happy to be here today.
For today and for the series of podcasts that we're having right now, the topic would be around skilling, how we can make use of technology to improve on the learning outcomes and the overall educational experience to make it more appealing, more interesting, more personalized and insightful for our students and teachers. Or if you want to put it the other way around, is how could we use technology to further improve the learning outcomes, or what students or teachers are currently missing from the school journey or from the educational environment, and how can we improve on that. So my first question to you would be, and I'm going to start with Nina, from your vast experience working as educator and also as educators working with technology, what would you say it's the major benefit or the top three benefits of applying technology in the educational process and exploring that path?
Mhm. Yeah, sometimes I use technology in class to motivate students, and the use of technology also helps them to learn in more engaging way and maybe to understand them better. And of course, it connects students and teachers, and it's a source of information. So we are already using Teams this year. Before I met my new students for the first time, I wrote a personalized story for them and sent them into chats in Teams. So the students were very positively to it, and they wrote me some nice messages. So even before we met, we kind of established some connection, relationship, and the students were very excited to come to school. Teams also serve us when students are absent from the class. So I send them material, videos, photos to our channels, to our place in Teams, and student can check this at home. So the gaps in knowledge are not too big when they come back to school. And of course, there's this fun element of technology when we are playing games and things like this. So it's a very good thing to use it in educational purpose.
If you're creative enough, you can actually use the technology to bridge this gap. And looking back when I was a student, which was many years ago, I didn't have this, right? There was there's the teacher and there's the student. While with technology, it kind of blends in a bit. It kind of bridges this gap between the teacher and students. And I really like your approach where you drafted that personalized letter for each and every one, so you had the connection with them to begin with,
Mhm.
bridging this gap between student and teacher. What about you, Eleni? What do you think it's for your vast educational experience and for Duca School? You mentioned it's I think it was 105 years old. That was the anniversary. So that's a lot of years. How do you see technology playing a role in such a history long institution like yours?
We can all agree, I think, that technology has transformed life as we know it. The classroom doesn't look at all, even 3 years back, not a year back. So I believe that educational technology improves the classroom experience. And there is indeed, in nowadays, a surplus of tools and ed solutions. Technology creates a more engaging environment. It incorporates different learning styles. It improves collaboration a lot. It prepares children for the future, actually, and connects the teacher with the students. It can help the teacher form a better relationship with the students and the colleagues as well. Also, in our school, we've been using um, being a Microsoft Showcase school. We're using a lot of Microsoft tools, and it has helped us increase teamwork as we have adapted the self-regulation and collaboration rubric from ETF. And through this procedure, we encourage a lot older students to teach younger students. The young ones learn better. The older ones feel a lot more responsible, and it's more fun for them. And also, we manage to do is save time, and students can do other activities as well. It comes more natural, and it's, as Nina said, more fun.
Really, really like that approach because you're mentioning skills like collaboration and communication, and it's really one of the uh, pillars, if you want, of using technology in education. It's not just a tool you can use to relay information. Working in a collaborative environment also brings up new perspective on the students on potentially how their job would look like using the tools that we use. It's the same teams we use here in Microsoft with our colleagues. It's the same teams that the children would use in the school. Of course, theirs has more educational features and more buttons around education and insights and assignments and all that. But at the end of the day, it's the same experience. And then when we're done with school, they will either have their own company or they'll work in a company. They will already know how it looks, how it feels, how it is to talk with people remotely, to work collaborative on projects in a asynchronous mode, right? Like with learning, you can attend the lesson, or you can just if you cannot attend the lesson, you have it as a recording, so you learn in your own free time, in your own free way.
Technology nowadays brings us closer. It doesn't isolate us like it used to be in the past. So for me, that's the big outcome of the whole thing that happened the past years and how technology moves on. It brings us closer.
I agree. Maybe moving forward, I could get some thoughts from you on looking back at the past years of heavily using technology in education, looking forward where we might as well have to use technology because of the different contexts and crises that are happening around us. It's COVID, it's security, it's maybe high electricity or high heating costs that will push certain schools to keep on using technology. My question to you would be, how would you shape the educational curriculum and the educational processes in today's context and challenges, right? Post-pandemic security, so on and so forth. And how much weight do you believe technology will still have in this new paradigm?
Yeah, I think it's essential to children to teach them about digital skills because they will need this knowledge for work, for life. It seems to me that the general opinion of people is still that we should be outside with children more rather than spend time on computers or learning how to use technology. And of course, I agree that children need to move a lot, that they have to be in fresh air and so on, but it's also very important that they learn how to use apps, online tools, etc. Because, for example, in some countries, you can no longer just order some lunch or something without a phone. I think technology is around us and that we can't avoid it, and it's here, and we have to learn kids how to use it. And it's even more frightening that children, when they go to study abroad, they don't have enough basic knowledge about technology to study. So this is a case in Slovenia, I think. So that's why they have to learn. And of course, when you are teaching them about digital stuff and apps and things like this, you can also teach them about internet safety. So that includes everything like cyberbullying, online changes, fake news. This is, I think, the most important thing, that it has to go to curriculums.
What would you say like are the top three pieces of technologies or the top three concepts of learning with technology that work best for you and you still plan on using them?
I think that if children use technology, they feel more independent and motivated in their work because they can search for information on the internet by themselves, and they see that they are able to present something in presentations, and this really fits them well. For example, like I said, like we use internet for gamification. Like, for example, when we were learning about Oceans Day, we explored the seafloor and picked up trash in Minecraft. Or when we were learning about Middle Ages, we built castles and we learned how to code in Minecraft. And sometimes I also use technology as a flipped classroom. This really fit, that's a really good thing for me because I made video for children. They are watching it, I don't know, in school or at home, and they have to answer the questions. So when we are starting to talk about the theme, they already know a lot of stuff. Yeah, I think these are like top things that are important.
I'm sure you're doing such a great job on it because I know you got the best teacher award in Slovenia. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Oh, it says here award K-12 teacher for amazing achievements with digital technology. That's a nice achievement. Congratulations for that. And
Thank you,
also,
thank you.
I know Duka School also got the best digital school in 2021 in Greece. Is that right, Eleni?
Yeah. Yes. First of all, let me say that you can be outside and the school is there. I mean, nowadays, even if you're in the woods, you can be in an actual classroom. So what we've done is we have organized all our educational material in OneNote and operate every physical class also as a digital class in Teams. So whether you have COVID or you're sick or whatever, if you're incapacitated, you can be part of the physical class, but remotely. Also, we have incorporated lots of tools which we think that are great, like the reading progress, and that helps children try new things. We are also very much pro certification. We encourage our students to go through, the MOS training and get equipped. We know very well that the more skills you acquire during your school years, the better the years as a university student or later on in your work will be. Children learn very fast. They need new things nearly daily. So what we do is we encourage our teachers to try something new all the time, with moderation, of course, but try new things, because you have different types of students, different learning styles, and you have to have all the methods needed in your classroom to reach to each and every student. So if you haven't tried something, you don't really know whether it works or not. Flipped classroom is a great idea. It's fun for students. It engages them. It gives them a motive, which we like. Teachers in nowadays shouldn't be across. They should be next to the student. They should be actually moderators. They don't know everything, and they shouldn't know everything. They should work with the students and help them own the path for their own knowledge. If the student realizes that I own, it's my duty, business, interest, what I learn, then they're happier, they're not bored, actually great ideas come from students.
That would bring me to my next point, which I want to make. It's around the recent experience I had traveling to the Baltics countries, to Estonia. They were saying they rely a lot of their knowledge of education and a lot of knowledge on how to shape education further in the data points that they collect from the learning process from teachers and students, right? Teachers or students using technology in the learning process will lead into a digital footprint. Like you use Teams, you do some clicks that gets saved anonymously for reporting purposes, but that in itself is a data set. And talking about Estonia, they were using roughly 10,000 data points to assess the educational journey and the educational outcomes of their students, which makes that into a very personalized learning process. Imagine you can know 10,000 things about each and every one of your students. That would help you shape furthermore how you specifically address each and every student. And I believe that's an attribute that only technology can bring. It's close to impossible to have this approach, in a one-on-one, which leads me to my next question. How do you see the value of data that's being generated by technology used in education? And how would you see this data used? And how would you influence, based on this data, the curriculum and the educational processes?
It's very useful. First of all, our goal is to have more specialized for each child curricular and programs. The more we know about our students, the more we know what makes them tick, how they learn better, how they're interested more. For me, all this data used in a clever way helps us make more flexible curricula and also have personalized programs and meet the needs of our students.
I also agree that children adopt this technology really, really fast. So I think it's more us teachers that we have to learn learn how to use these apps and data. I think that we learned a lot during pandemic, and children really adopt Teams really quickly. I loved it because the whole school united, and we used the same, like we used Teams. It was easier for children to adopt, and it was really good because we could teach them like we would teach them in a class. We could still develop these skills that they have to use for the future. And I think that also the teacher now, it's not just some frontal teacher who is just standing before the class, but we are more like in a role of a moderator or someone who helps them to develop these skills. And technology helps us like with they, because they can do researches on their own, so they find information and they have to look for it. So it's different if I tell them something or if they search for information. So that's why they are learning on their own, but we are helping them to learn and to develop those skills. So I think this is the best way to teach them.
May I say that one thing that we're doing in our school, and I think you might find interesting, is that it's been now 10 years that we have established the Innovation and Best Practices Days, in which what we do it 4 or 5 times a year, and all the teachers from all the grades. We're a K-12 school, so from 3 up to 18, we gather together and share knowledge, share best practices, experience, and that is very, very useful. Sometimes we bring in our students that have taken part in a best practice or an idea, and that has helped a lot to build, common programs. And even though it's different ages, you can still, learn and share things. So that helped a lot, and maybe it's a good idea for other schools to do.
Yeah, I also think it's the best when teachers are connecting with each other,
Yeah.
because you can get the idea from someone and you can do it a little bit differently, but you just have to get an idea and then you can do miracles in your classroom.
And except that, what we do is we have a team in Teams called Labedu, and all the teachers are in there of all classrooms, and we share, information, ideas, something that someone learned during a seminar, or about badges and certification. It's very useful, very interesting.
Very nice.
My personal belief is that education is, at the end of the day, a complex communication process. More or less, it's about communication. It's not itself communication, but it's about the way you can transmit and receive information, and we have the tools to make that happen, even if we're not in the same room, as you can see. And the easier it is, and the more natural it is to transmit this information, the easier it is to learn it as well, and it gets perceived by the students. And I know you, Nina, also are working on a more special education project, which involves playing. And that's great, because that's the way we all learn. At least when we're toddlers and when we're kids, when we're growing up, that's the best way to learn, by playing. And I know you've been doing some very interesting stuff on Minecraft for education. So maybe you can share a bit on that as well.
I can share one really nice practice that I had last year. We were discussing the parts of Slovenia, like the part where there is a sea. Well, if you don't know it yet, the Slovenia is a really beautiful country. We have mountains and sea and caves. So first we went outside with students and we were pretending that we are trained and we are traveling around Slovenia. We stopped at the pictures of different landscapes that we already learned about Slovenia, and we repeated that. Yeah, we talked about that. They shared their knowledge. Then we landed in that part that we didn't talk before about it, so where the sea is. Then we returned to class, and the students shared some key words about Slovenia in Teams in OneNote. Then at that second, I realized that I got an urgent message on Teams. The message was a video taken by Water Dragon. Do you know who is Water Dragon? Well, that was me, of course, but I made a video for them. This dragon, the water dragon, told the students that she just woke up in the middle of our sea and that she would eat everyone and everything if they didn't know about her landscape. So I know that this maybe sounds a little bit creepy, but she was actually really funny and students loved it. So she told the students to learn about this topic and that they have to research it, and that she would come back in a week. The students and I watched this video for about 500